everybody. Kim here with the Kimberly Zorrilla Podcast. I have Chris Whipper here today. He's an amazing guest that I got the pleasure to be at one of his classes for realtors not too long ago about insurance. So I just wanted to bring him on, and I'm going to, like just kind of like have a conversation, same as you will have it with a homeowner about insurance, and also what's your take on everything that is happening. And yeah, just live. So, what's the name of the company, and how long ago did you start it?
The name of my company is Florida Strategic Insurance. We established that company in 2011.
Okay.
I've been in insurance since 2007. I had another company prior to that.
The was it doing the same type of insurance?
Same
Or
exact thing.
you
Yep.
okay?
An insurance agency doing the same exact thing.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. And I know like your company is very successful. Again, like we heard, and you have so much knowledge to share. Like, what got you changing companies, and how did the growth happen so fast?
Oh boy. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say the growth happened fast. It just seems like a snowball over the last, few years. I mean, ultimately we just, we just write insurance, one policy, one person at a time. We grew our company, one person at a time, kind of out of necessity and getting busier. And we stayed hyper focused on not trying to sell every kind of insurance, but really trying to sell home and flood insurance.
Oh, okay.
That was for a very long time pretty much the only insurance we sold.
Okay. Okay. And that's
So
still like the tool that you guys focus on, or
yeah,
you help people with other type of insurance as well?
yeah, we do all kinds of insurance now,
Hmm.
but a great majority of that all starts from really home and flood insurance. We started working and expanding our network with realtors and lenders, helping people do home purchases. That's
That's
kind of
awesome.
what got us here.
So I know, like after the hurricanes and everything that have happened, like how has been how like tell me more. How's the company doing right now? Like I'm sure that you have a lot of claims and people that don't really understand the policy. I
Yep.
thought that I was covered, but I was not. So if you can just talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, you asked a few questions there, but I would say like just naturally we're getting closer to the holidays, like
Mm.
November, Thanksgiving. I've seen, historically we've always been our slowest in November as we start getting near Thanksgiving. So November's always been typically our slowest month of the year.
Mhm.
Um, then you have the combination of the storm. You have a combination of, I think, less people moving to Florida with the pandemic. So we've had that multi combination of things. So like my company, like we saw like in the peak of COVID and people moving here, and a lot of
Mhm.
people buying houses, we were doing 1,000 to 1,400 new homes a month. You know, so
That's
we're
incredible.
we're helping people with home and flood insurance on that, roughly in that amount. Right now, I think it's getting closer to like a normal level. We're doing six, seven, 800 a month, roughly on
Oh,
average.
that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. So that's kind of a volume. Right now things have kind of slowed down. I think people are nervous, buying anywhere near the water. We're in Tampa Bay. Everything's relatively close to the water. So like I think we're on pace roughly for this month about 600, which will be,
That's awesome.
probably our slowest month for the year.
Do they have a lot of questions about like as far as like the flood insurance and everything? How
Yeah,
have you been handling that?
to be honest with you, like, new prospective clients, um, you would think they would have a lot more questions,
Hmm.
but to be honest with you, I'm not sure that they know what to ask, so half the time, we have to bring up the conversation, on their behalf on things that they should
Of
think about.
course, that's really nice.
But you do have a lot of people trying to buy insurance on homes that have a lot of damage.
Mm.
That's not easy to come by.
So, what are the questions that people should be asking on if you're looking to buy, and if you're selling, like how does it work? And you take over that policy and all of that. So, like two questions in that for
Okay, yeah.
new home buyers, and then for those that already have the policy.
On the home buyer side of things, like I think what to look for or what to ask, it really just depends what they want to be covered for,
Mm.
and a lot of times I don't think a lot of people understand that whatsoever. And a lot of people don't want to. Insurance is boring, for
Oh,
the most part.
and I know you mentioned that usually the claim, the life of a claim or like in a policy is 17, 18 years.
the average claim filing,
Sorry,
like
yes.
on average, a home insurance claim is filed every 17 to 18 years. It's in that ballpark, at least statistically, So a lot of people, I think, don't ask, like insurance is truly gambling, right? So it depends how much you do or don't want to gamble. It depends what you can or can't afford, Everyone may want every bit of coverage under the sun, but they don't want to pay for it, So more coverage, more money. The big thing people maybe want to look for, right? We're in Tampa Bay. We have homes that are brand new construction. You've got homes that are 100 years old. You've got everything in between.
Mm.
Generally speaking, the older the home, the more it's going to cost, So you just got to keep those things in mind. If you're going to be looking for an old historic home, if it's a frame home, if the closer it is to the water, you just got to think the more risk that any of this is, the more it's going to cost, right? You have a higher likelihood of having a claim, like a pipe bursting, breaking, leaking, right? If it's a frame home, the amount of damage you're going to get from a fire and a lot of the other attributes that come along with that. Like you maintain a frame home different than a block home. But the older the home, the more expensive it is. You get any home that's 2002 or newer, where they change the building codes, that's where you're going to get your least expensive insurance policies. There's a bunch of different attributes that you want to consider. So if you're looking for the best prices on insurance when you're going, and most everyone is thinking about money, that's typically included in your monthly mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Insurance is usually in there. So you get a home that's not in a special flood hazard area. You get a home that's new construction. That's where you're going to get your best prices. You can have a vastly different cost in insurance, like where insurance can cost you 100 a month or 1,000 a month. It's
Does
a huge
elevation,
difference.
I mean, can imagine. So as far as like the elevation of the home, does a certificate of elevation matter? Like, let's say that I'm very close to the water. However, like can I give you that and actually lower my price, or it really doesn't matter
Well,
anymore?
they don't require them anymore, but they can be impactful. But we found that it's like 5 or 10% of the time it matters, like to where it'll be helpful.
This is really low.
Well, a lot of times now, like they have so much information anymore where, generally speaking, if you put the foundation type in, which tells you, oh, is the home on a slab or is it elevated over a garage or you name it, they already have the information that gives them elevation without having to get an elevation certificate. That data historically wasn't available. Now you can go on the internet and roughly, you can pull out your phone and figure out what your elevation is, at least to a very close number. So now all that data is out there publicly, so they don't really need it anymore. But there are differences. You may have a house that could be a foot above where the floodplain is compared to even with it, right? So on a slab foundation, it's the few inches could matter, as far as that goes. But in most cases, like I'd say 9 out of 10, the elevation certificate isn't helpful from a rating standpoint anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't require it anymore. But we always say if you have one, provide it and let's see if it's helpful. But most of the time it's not.
Good to know. And for those that are selling their home right now, if they want to help the new buyer, because I know after the storm it might be a little harder just to get insurance cover. So what's
it depends. Yeah, I mean it depends if something was damaged, but I think what you might be talking about there is on the flood insurance side of things.
Yes.
You have the new way NFIP flood insurance is done. It's called risk rating 2.0. That's the new version. They don't require an elevation certificate. They have old flood insurance that had what's called legacy rates. So a lot of times those old legacy rates, which those rates are increasing every year, at least 18%, until they get to their risk rating 2.0 rate. It will end at that rate. It's just a matter of time, at least with the way it's set up now. So where a seller can help themselves sell a property, right? Maybe make the flood insurance a little less expensive on the buyer. If they have a legacy policy with a better rate than risk rating 2.0, they can provide the buyer a copy of the policy number. So you can obtain a new flood insurance policy and you can get legacy rates by getting that old policy information, or the buyer can assume the old policy altogether, whatever's easier, So both of those avenues are good.
Is that normal though?
Yep.
Because yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it is normal.
Just for people that want to help from the kindness of their heart,
I
or like
mean,
is through like the negotiation saying like, okay, I will buy it, but you have to do this with me or
well,
something like
see, I mean, if you're a seller, you're helping yourself.
that.
Because if your flood insurance is going to be $8,000, I'm just going a hypothetical
Yeah.
number, or the buyer's flood insurance is going to be $2,000 with a legacy rate, you're only helping yourself as a seller by providing that. You're not going to lose a penny because essentially what a title company will do is they'll prorate the flood insurance, for example, and they'll give you a credit on the settlement statement. So you don't lose any money. So as a seller, you have nothing to lose whatsoever, you know, uh, in regards to that. So there's no reason to not provide it,
Okay.
so you can only help yourself sell the home and make it an easier time, right? Because if you got a very expensive flood insurance policy,
Yeah.
buyers, they'll be aware of that. They'll beware, so you'll have a lot of buyers that may walk with the cost of insurance,
Okay,
you know?
interesting. And how much of a when you get the flood insurance coverage or like like the policy, how much is it cover? Because like some people might think like, oh, everything is covered. What is like truly cover for when things happen?
On flood insurance, you have two types of coverage. You have building coverage and you have contents coverage.
Okay.
So when you get a flood insurance policy through the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, the building coverage stops at $250,000. There's not a lot of $250,000 houses. They're all much more expensive. The cost of construction over the last 5 years has went through the roof, at least in this area, and across the entire state of Florida. Contents coverage is at $100,000. That's the highest you can get through the National Flood Insurance Program, your standard flood insurance policy. You can buy an excess policy, which would be in the private world, which would go above that. So that is available to be purchased, although not many people purchase it. But you're only getting building and contents coverage. So if your house gets flooded and it's unlivable, who pays the mortgage? The owner of the home. And they can't live in it. So what do they have to do? They're going to have to pay to live somewhere else out of their own pocket. So that's a major flaw on the side of flood insurance, right? So there's all kinds of things. They're not going to cover pools, right? Depending on the foundation type, they're only going to give you contents coverage in certain areas. So if you have a home that's over a garage, if you have your personal property in that garage and it's elevated with enclosure as your foundation type, they're not going to cover personal property that was damaged in your garage, So
So that would be for people like, for example, like what if I built in the garage? Like I got it home and I built something.
are you
Not
talking
covered.
about like maybe building living space in the garage? Yeah, none of that living space is going to be covered. So you're not going to get a check to fix that. So you'll have to do that again on your own dime, you know?
What about the FEMA rule?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to jump into talking about FEMA 50/50 rule, we can do that.
Okay.
That's another subject altogether, but what's covered, what's not. The FEMA 50% rule has nothing to do with what is or isn't
What is
covered.
exactly?
It just happens to, their goal with that is just to get homes built above the floodplain, to be currently compliant. So they remap areas on a regular basis. The regular basis could be every 10 years, every 20 years, every 5 years. It's different everywhere. I don't know necessarily what dictates
That.
when they remap per se. Like Pinellas County was just remapped a couple of years ago, for example. But as far as the FEMA 50% rule, I think there's been a lot of chaos, a lot of people are scared with that. I'll start with this and we'll go back. You got to remember, like, this storm surge, I don't think was terrible. Easy for me to say I didn't flood, right?
Of course.
It was terrible, but it wasn't 20 feet in the air going over people's roof lines in most cases. I
Like
think
North Carolina.
Yeah, right. So some people were drastically devastated. Here in this area, the 50% rule, you got to imagine in most of these houses that flooded, they saw like a water line, 3, 4, 5 feet up. You got to think about the overall structure in the 50% rule, right? So FEMA says, FEMA's word says something to the tune of like fair market value. If over 50% of the home is damaged, they want to see you mitigate. They want to see you raise the house or move the house or whatever it is to make it be flood compliant. So typically in this area, you don't have a ton of land, so you're going to raise or elevate the home. or mow it over and build a new home that's going to be compliant and raised, like a home over a garage. As far as that goes, again, going back, we got about a 3, 4, 5 foot water line. Only a small percentage of the homes were damaged when you think about the overall structure, right? You've got exterior walls, you got roofs. Most of the roofs held up, but some didn't. You just got to think across the board. You got to cut out 4 feet of drywall, all the flooring, lower cabinets, right? So in most cases, most of these homes did not see 50%, 50% damage, so
Okay.
most of them are going to be under that 50% rule. You're going to have a few that may be at that 50% rule or exceed it that are going to have to do something, potentially, so I think a lot of people have a lot more concern thinking thousands of homes around here are going to be mowed over, and that's just not the case. The water did not get that high and destroy that much of the structure. So I don't think they're going to see, I don't think they're going to see what they thought they were going to see, where all these homes are going to get torn down. Now, the county's structural value, which, for example, I know Pinellas County very
Yeah.
well. I know we're in Hillsborough County. On their website, you can just click a button that tells you structural value.
Mm.
Those numbers and all county numbers most of the time are pretty low. So you can always get a private appraisal and then kind of determine that. Like my home showed $200 a square foot. And I can tell you most construction replacement cost estimators in the area are significantly higher than $200 a square foot.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're seeing like $300 a square foot, depending on the area. Maybe you'll see more, maybe you'll see a little less, but we're seeing things like that. So that's a huge difference. I mean, that's a 50%
It is.
difference. So I mean, as
They're
far as
not
any of that
being
goes,
like realistic with what's happening.
they just have a formula and that's it. I mean, they have a formula. They're not running in and doing a cost estimator. They don't necessarily know what's inside of a home and what makes up its entire structure and structure value. So most people, most people, they're going to be fine even if they use the structure value from the county. The other section of people are probably going to be better off getting a private appraisal. And I think they're going to be, below that 50% mark.
Okay.
You got to remember too, like with a storm, contractors, they can charge what they want to charge, right? So I have a client who got a bid to replace their drywall on their flooded house. One contractor was 10 grand. The next one was 40,
Mm.
and then imagine so on and so forth. If he's going to all these different contractors for all these different things, and he's getting prices that are astronomical. And in regards to that, if he's pulling permits and getting all these numbers, will he exceed it? Maybe, if he finds all the most expensive people. But you got to imagine during a hurricane, costs of construction, you got to imagine there's thousands of people that get in line. I own a roofing company as well. You know, uh, we're not going to be doing a roof with a 2% profit margin. We're not going to. We have thousands of people in line. I mean, so as far as that goes, it's like, how do you get a deal?
Exactly.
So what I'm really getting at is the cost of construction, especially after a catastrophic event. It's supply and demand. There's only so many contractors. You got a ton of people that need the work, right? So those costs are going to naturally be driven higher,
And
So
I feel like everything has been changing like after COVID. Like it
yeah,
took a while for everything to go back to normal or whatever
yeah,
normal is, right, at this point. And now again, every time there's something like that happens, it's just like it shakes like the everything, like the supplies and the men, like the working power and everything. So
yeah. I mean, specifically talking about COVID, I can talk about roofing.
Mhm.
Every quarter, the cost of materials were going up
We're not.
10%
Mhm.
every quarter. And I can tell you, I haven't seen any prices drop.
Yeah. And
I've
then
seen them. I've seen them now over the last couple of quarters. I've seen them stabilize,
Mm.
meaning like they didn't move them. The last 2 quarters, they said there were still price increases, but it must have been on a small amount of different types of materials because in general, the materials that we use on a regular course of construction on roofing, I didn't see go up over the last 2 quarters. But every quarter prior to that, we were seeing 5 and 10% increases quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. Now I look at the cost of roof replacement specifically 3 or 4 years ago to today, they cost twice as much.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I own a cleaning company, residential and commercial in Sarasota, and there I have a lot of friends with roofing companies, AC, plumbing, whatnot. And the person that owns the AC company says that increases are like 20%. 25%. And like they're just calling their clients. I'm like, hey, in 2 months, this is going to cost like a crazy amount more. Like, do
Yep.
you want to do it now? So they have been, like having to deal with those increases all the time and constantly, like a few times a year. At least
Yep.
with, like with my company, it's just like once a year that I kind of like see everything. But with like, I'm sure with like roofing, AC, like major things are going to be harder just
Yeah.
to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes it tough for the businesses as well, because it's incredibly difficult to keep up with all those moving parts. And then
Yeah.
when you don't have things that are stable, right? Like prices of materials, you might have a way that you were giving people bids a month ago, and now you're giving bids the same way that you were a month ago. And then until you start paying the bills, you don't realize that you're losing money on every job. So you've got to be able to move very, very fast. So when we saw like COVID and we see these price changes, we saw a lot of roofers go out of business specifically. It's not the only industry impacted. Every
Oh
industry was
God, yeah.
impacted. So
Right.
the people that moved quick enough were okay. We saw competitors, we'd give bids and we'd look at it and we go, how do you, like, you would have to lose money to do that. Okay. You can't
Some
compete
people.
there. You're on a race to bankruptcy.
And this leads me to the other part that I wanted to ask you a little bit more. It was the entrepreneurial side. I know that you do insurance, and you have a great team, very fast, very knowledgeable, and everything. But you also have the roofing company. And what got you started into that sector? And right now, like I know managing the employees, and you mentioned that you have 100 employees or something.
On the insurance side, we have somewhere around 50. On the roofing side, we have somewhere close to 100.
Wow. So it's a lot of people. So how do you get to manage that part, especially like nowadays?
Pull your hair. No, I think with that, I started in insurance back in 2007, right? That's when I started my career. I've never worked at another insurance agency in my life. I started day one. I opened my insurance agency. I did not know anything.
You and writing.
I did, and maybe I should have, maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. I'm happy where I'm at today, but
That's amazing.
maybe I'd be in a better spot. I don't know. So I'm just a little stubborn and hard-headed as far as that goes. So it took a lot of years to figure out, and we're constantly retooling and refiguring all this stuff. I don't sit here and say I have perfection. I don't. We just keep trying to see what we have in front of us and the resources we have, and we grow and we shift and we change and go in different directions. It took several years to learn on the insurance side of things, at least my niche, and there's several. I don't have the only way and the best way. It worked very well for me. We figured the niche of working to get home purchases, right? So people buying homes, right? So then we strictly, our clients, our realtors and lenders. It took a few years to figure that out. I didn't know that day one, doing that, I worked in that for, what do I say, roughly 13 years before I got into roofing, right? So, I saw roofing kind of being hand in hand with insurance, right? I don't want to say most, a lot of roofing contractors go to rip off insurance companies, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of hail damage and a lot of other stuff that they kind of roll into, and they go and attack these older roofs and say it was damaged by XYZ, and the insurance carrier has the duty to prove them wrong, which is incredibly difficult. So I saw that side of things. So I said, we build a lot of infrastructure in the insurance agency. We've got a phenomenal team across the board where they don't need me. I just add value, and I want to make sure our ship is going the right direction. But to be quite honest with you, our team is who does everything. I don't sit there and say, "Oh, it's all me." It's not.
No,
I'm just a small part. So as far as any of that goes, the insurance was doing very well and kind of running itself. And to be quite honest, I was a little bit bored. So I was like, I want to get involved in another business. So I just started looking at opportunities. It took a while.
Is it a franchise or
No. It's just an independent agency, just all in and of itself. We
What is the
contract.
name?
My insurance agency is Florida Strategic Insurance.
And the roofing company?
We're really creative. It's called Strategic Roofing. So a good friend of ours, and I have business partners as well. It's not just me. On the insurance side of things, one of my business partners is good friends with a gentleman who's been in roofing for 25 plus years. Roofing seemed like a natural business where we actually kind of got in to go help insurance carriers
Okay.
rather than attack insurance carriers.
Mm.
So we're preferred vendors with some insurance companies. We help some insurance companies. We even help them on the legal side of things when anything comes up. In most cases, they didn't even want to battle this stuff. They just went in and said, "We'll just replace the roofs,"
Yes.
and then they want to pick a good contractor to do. So anyway, we worked with a lot of insurance carriers. We do very little insurance work, as a matter of fact. So on the roofing side of things, we just, you know, we ended up partnering with a gentleman who's been doing it for 25 years. He has a very good reputation, and we grew and expanded that company over the last 4 years. Where it was a quarter of the size that it is today 4 years ago.
That's amazing.
So we work with builders, contractors, realtors. Uh, we're just in the regular retail roofing business for residential and commercial. We just kind of grew our name, grew our sales force, and just expanded. And we're building a good amount of infrastructure. To where like me and my partners don't have to be in it every day. We're just compartmentalizing like what we all do, what our roles are. The
That,
partner that's been in it,
that's
he's
very
in
cool.
charge of making sure roofs are watertight.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? I haven't installed a bunch of roofs in my life. My other partner and myself, we kind of work on operations and processes. I work on a lot of the, accounting, bookkeeping, financial side, and try to make decisions based on money, right? It's a big money management piece. I have another partner who brings in a lot of resources, right? Like, a lot of business owners, owns apartment buildings, all kinds of stuff. So it's more of a resource grab there. So we all kind of have a four-headed monster as far as the roofing goes, and we've been very fortunate to again have a lot of really good people on our team, and they take care of, I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit there and say like it's all me. I do all this. It's not.
No,
We
and
have a very good team with people that are pointed in the right directions. So we all work together extremely well, and we win together.
and that's amazing. I feel
Yeah.
like it is so difficult nowadays, like to find somebody that you can trust,
Sure.
that it will perform, like they will do actually what they say, because they can be very nice and then you can
Yes.
trust them. But if they don't perform, it's kind of like, at least in business, right?
Yes.
So it's very nice just to be able to find people that,
It's the
have
hardest
the
part.
same vision. So
Without a doubt,
that's,
that's the hardest part, right?
mm,
Like, I don't know if it's cliche to say or not, but like culture is everything. It
it
really
is.
is.
Mhm.
Without a doubt, if you don't fit the culture, it just will not work. It will not. And then you got to develop that culture. You got to work. You have to cultivate it. Like
And 100%. I feel like if you don't have that, it's really hard, because that's what you're going to project. So how can you get people to buy to your product and to believe what you
sure,
are doing if you don't?
yeah. I
So,
mean, then your reputation. I
mhm.
mean, in roofing, contracting in general, no one has, no
Good.
one, no one thinks well of a contractor.
Yeah.
I mean, they think, they're gonna constantly rip you off. They're not gonna show up. You
Not
know, yeah,
reliable.
well, yeah, not reliable. You don't stand behind your work. You name it.
Mhm.
And we do. We make mistakes. We're human beings. If we damage something, if we do something wrong, we fix it. Look, we've had where we've had poor installations. Not many. It's a very very small percent. We've gone in and we've tore off roofs that we didn't like. Brand new tile roofs. We're like,
Mm.
I don't like the way that was installed. It was wrong. There was some leaks. We've mitigated all the damage. We tore off the roof. We put it on the right way. So I don't think a lot of people want to talk about their business
Yeah.
doing things wrong. We have, and we fix it. We stand behind it. I want to be proud at the end of the day of what we do.
That's powerful.
I don't want to wear my company shirt in public and have
And
to
like
hide it.
hiding.
No, no, not a chance. I don't think I want to be involved in any business like that. You
That's
know,
incredible. We
Yeah.
definitely like we it, it's refreshing to hear that you're doing business that way.
Yeah.
This is just so nice. Love that. And do you have any other adventures coming up soon, or
Uh,
things coming up?
are you talking about personal adventure?
Well, Well, personal with
Or
business too.
bit like a business venture. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe I
so
pronounced that
yeah.
wrong.
No, no,
Right.
no. You said it. I think you said it right. I probably misheard you. I do have other ventures. I own a title company.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so that's my newest venture,
Mhm.
so that's going okay. It's incredibly difficult to kind of get business coming to you. A lot of real estate offices and lending offices, they have their
It happened
go-to.
though.
And we've got relationships for many years, but to get people to trust and work with us like in another endeavor is incredibly difficult. But I think I have enough on my plate that I'm like, I don't want to have 100 businesses.
Mhm.
I love what I do. Like I absolutely love it. And I love my life balance, I guess you can say, whatever that means.
Mhm.
So I don't want to change that. I have no interest in working 1,000 hours a week, you know.
I know,
Um,
right?
I really like what I have going. So I think property and casualty insurance, roofing and title, I think that suits me well for today. I don't have any new ventures coming up per se.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, the title life, and the good thing is they all relate with each other, and that you are enjoying
Yes.
it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all those businesses kind of go hand in hand a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Like I don't want to compete with realtors and lenders. They
Mhm.
send me business. I don't want to battle them.
Of course.
We've got a great reputation in what we do for property and casualty insurance, and I think we do things right and accurately and efficiently 99.9% of the time. So I think we can compete in the realm for title. In regards to roofing, like roofing goes hand in hand with insurance. We insure tens of thousands of homes. We get the chance to educate people on the roofing side of things and give them a fair shake with a good contractor. So we educate a lot of the clients there on the roofing side of things.
That's important.
I think roofing and insurance goes hand in hand, especially if you're not attacking the insurance companies, which we don't do. You can go out there and help them. You can help people and make a living,
It's a
like,
win-win for everybody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and then, so it's kind of a circle. Obviously, we work with realtors and lenders. Realtors and lenders, help pick the title company for homeowners because most home buyers or home sellers,
They don't have it
they don't
that
have
first.
the contacts or the resources or, know the companies that do a good job. So, we work with a lot of realtors and have for, the greater part of the
Many
last
years.
15 years, so yeah, they all kind of do work hand in hand, and, they're all good. I think they're all good businesses to be in.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can tell us for this last part. What is it that you have on the personal side? I know you
Oh,
mentioned like the venture.
adventures?
Yes.
Oh boy, you're gonna need
Another hour.
you're gonna need another hour. But no, I love adventures. Like I have a lot of hobbies. I mean,
Like what? I know.
I just went out spearfishing a couple days ago. Right, so
Oh, that's
I like
good.
shooting fish and swimming with sharks.
Mm.
Right.
Oh, really?
I like skydiving. But, paragliding. I've been bull riding. I drag race. I drift race.
What about jiu-jitsu? I remember
Yeah,
when that day I met you, you mentioned we were talking, the other lady was there, and
yeah,
you mentioned that you did Brazilian
I
Jiu-Jitsu,
do. Yeah,
and that's a passion of mine too. I haven't,
yeah.
like, I did it for a little bit. I wish that I would have more time to do it.
And you should, yeah. I mean, what's really cool is there's studios all over the place at each one.
Yes,
So
yeah.
you don't really have an excuse, by the way. But no, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have for the last 6-7 years.
Wow.
I train 2 to 3 days a week, right? I skipped today to be here, so
Thank you.
my professor is going to yell at you. I'm
Oh
just
God,
telling you.
they get
Um,
into you.
no, no, no. So I generally train, 2 or 3 days a week at lunchtime. I've got the school that I go to.
In Clearwater?
It's in Largo. Yeah,
Largo.
it's Largo Clearwater. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been training there for the last 6-7 years. I train 2-3 days a week. So I've been very fortunate to go there. I love going there. It's a lot of fun. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've met a bunch of like I say the word incredible
Incredible
people.
people.
Sure. I've met I got a lot of good camaraderie, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Have you
wonderful.
have you found it like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it related so much to my character, my discipline.
Sure.
Every single thing in my personal life, like on the side, like business wise, and like the way that I treated my body, like I was like, oh my God, this is the only sport, the only thing on earth that will give you what jiu-jitsu give you. So for you, have you had the same
Yeah, yeah.
experience
Well,
or?
I would say there's probably a couple aspects of my life that I would attribute that to. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, without a doubt, yes. I like weightlifting as well, right? So, I do that 4 days a week. I do Jiu-Jitsu, generally 2 or 3. I would just say fitness in general, right? I would put Brazilian
Incredible.
Jiu-Jitsu in the fitness category. It's a different type of fitness, without a doubt. But I absolutely love it, right? Like, I think me and like a lot of people, I don't think I'm unique to this, your mind is just wandering and racing and moving constantly, you know? And, I go at lunchtime, right in the middle of the day, you know? I love that reset that I get. I love going in there. I can't think about anything but what
But
that
that,
is in the moment, you know? And, there's 1,000, there's 10,000 different moves and techniques in it. And, just all of that going, from a very physical aspect, cardio aspect, you name it.
and also separating like what's
Yeah.
going on in that day to like stay focused. Let's say that you have a stressful day that you're going, you're in your mind, you get there. You cannot do that because if not, you get choked, right?
Yeah.
So you need to like learn how to separate that.
Be careful what you're asking me, right? I mean, I think from a jujitsu standpoint, there's nothing better than to relieve stress than choking somebody else.
Well, I mean, if
You know?
you're not ready, they
No.
will do it to you
Yes,
instead of you
correct.
doing it, right?
Yes, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. But no, I mean, and it's just like that. I think the physical and mental aspects of things fall hand in hand. I think a lot of your mental goes right along with your physical.
Yeah. Oh,
And I can
100%.
tell you, like, when I really took the fitness side of things a little more serious, uh, boy, did it help the mental side for me. Because for me, like, I can tell you, like I had a very serious amount of sleep deprivation, right? Like in the middle, I'm just waking up in the middle of the night. Okay, business. What did I do today? What do I got to do tomorrow? What did I forget? You name it. And my mind's racing and wandering and racing and wandering. And I saw when I really took the physical side of things, the fitness side of things a little more serious. And there's so many things that come along with that. Boy, that settled me on the mental side of things so greatly. Like I saw just a huge amount of benefits. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically, especially after doing it for a few years. I mean, you jump in at the beginning and you just get your butt kicked. Like you're, an adult fighting a toddler and you're the toddler, you know?
Especially
Then
for
you,
a man, might be
yeah.
kind of like an ego check
Oh,
because I'm a
100%.
girl. I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. Like for a guy, like I can see their
Yes.
faces like going red. Well, I
When
used to.
when a girl like you beat
Well, that
a
happened.
full-grown man up, and I have had that. I've had a girl like you beat me up and humbled me. And if you would have bet me $1 million, I would have lost that. Where I get humbled, right, in jujitsu specifically. But on the flip side of that, what I will say, right, I got humbled in that setting. It is like a pride or ego hit. On the other side, now doing it, for like 6 or 7 years, and you get better as a practitioner. Um, what a confidence boost. And after 6 months or a year, like
You get
all of a sudden you're just like, you can see like from a technical aspect of things, like that you're just getting better and better. And it's slow. It is not quick, as you know. It's very, very slow. And then now do it 6, 7 years and however, um, boy, does it feel good. And do you get a lot of confidence from that? So it's wonderful. But without a doubt, like just broadly speaking, uh, I think it's incredibly important to work on the physical side of things and the mental follows. Without a doubt, I've seen my life change from that. Without it, for sure.
absolutely love
Yeah.
that. I always, when, like when we get like talking and with friends and some people I know, we always get into you have to have a holistic approach to life because let's say that you have a horrible relationship at home,
Sure.
right? And then you cannot perform really good at your
Yeah.
job because you're worried about that. Or let's say that you have an amazing relationship but you're broke because like it's not, like not going very well. So it's just like truly having, like taking care of your weight. Like if you're overweight, you're going to be tired, you're going to be lethargic, feeling like horrible all day. So it's just like truly finding a balance in all of those things is just like an enhancer. So like, how is your routine? I feel like routines are really good,
Yeah.
and
I
maybe you haven't, maybe don't.
no.
Like some people like manage it like differently. So
I have a routine for sure. I mean, I can talk about. I have an eating routine. I eat 5 or 6 meals a day. I meal plan. I have macros set for that. I don't need to go in detail there, but I do. Like
love it.
depending on my day, if I do jujitsu and I'm doing like weightlifting, powerlifting, I eat a little more because I'm burning a lot of calories. So generally I do jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I try to do those. I get at least 2 sessions in, but Monday at noon, Wednesday at noon, Friday at noon is typically when I do jiu-jitsu. Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I go and do weightlifting, powerlifting, and it's more down the powerlifting side of things, but that's the type of weightlifting I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Beyond that, I go running now. I just started running really within the last month because my knee was kind of bugged me for my whole life. I didn't think I could run anymore. I started running in the last 6 weeks. So once a week, I'll do a 5K now, like Saturday mornings, usually right around sunrise, I'll go run a 5K. I've only been doing it for the last month, so I don't want to
That's
act like I've been a runner
amazing.
forever.
Yeah.
Sunday mornings, I do about a 10, 12-mile bike ride, you know?
Staying very active.
So yeah, outside of that, I mean, I have 3 boys, so I'm very active with them. I mean, I run them around too. So from a physical standpoint and a fitness standpoint, I don't know anyone who can't find a half hour a day. If you say you can't, I think you're lying. And go
You
type that in
don't
your phone,
want.
I guess, right? And
Mm-hmm.
tell me you don't have time as you're typing and stop typing. I've never been on social media in my life. So it's like, I don't know. I'm very active. I'm very busy. But there is time without a doubt. And it'll change everything in your life for the better, on the
You
fitness side of things.
prioritize it, like what's
Yeah.
important and urgent, you have to prioritize.
I will tell you the physical side of things. I'm getting it done one way or another through the day. I don't care if I have to do it at 5 in the morning, and I often don't. It's just because it's a must do. I don't care. I want to get my steps in. I'm just going to go walk, one way, shape, or form. There's something that can be done. So I've absolutely made it a priority. And, I've never felt better in my life without it. And I'm not just saying physically, I'm saying physically, mentally, everything.
Emotion.
Never felt better in my life.
That's so amazing because I feel like if you implement the things that are really important to your routine, like for example, I have a standing desk
Yeah.
and a treadmill underneath. I know that I need to do
I
like
have that.
10K, like a day.
Yeah.
That's my minimum. So I'm like, okay, this meeting and this, and I'm just like typing and I'm going. So I make sure that I hit that because that's when I feel the best. For
Yeah.
sure.
In my office, I have a
Yeah.
standing desk, and I found it difficult to type and walk at the same time. I can't do it.
I feel like
But
that's women. We can do that.
yeah, I can't. I don't know. I lack the coordination, I guess. But I will
I'm sure you
say
could.
I've had it for like the last 6 months now.
Mhm.
No, wait, sorry, no. Actually, this was bought for me last Christmas, so I've had it almost a year now.
Almost a year.
And yeah, I mean, so I don't sit down, or if I do, the only time I will is if I'm in a meeting.
Mhm.
Outside of that, I stand and I feel great.
That's
So I
awesome.
absolutely prioritize the physical, one way, shape, or form.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing everything that you said. I love it. I love the explaining the insurance side and also the business entrepreneurial side. And then just end it up with like the most important thing is like truly taking care of yourself.
Yes.
So I appreciate you. I will write down on the description all of your information for everybody if they ever want to reach out to you for the roofing and the insurance or the title company.
Thanks for
Thank
having me,
you.
Kim. I appreciate it.
Thank you.